So, back for another VGC guide, and this time we are looking at Serperior. Been waiting so long. This is the first time that Serperior has been available on the Switch. Like, not even last generation it was available. Been waiting so long for Serperior to come back. This is my favourite Pokemon, just in general, and also to use in VGC. So I am absolutely thrilled. It is finally back. It is going to be the best Pokemon for me specifically. It's S+ for me. Objectively, though, it's an A. It is the best Pokemon ever, but objectively it's an A. So some people will probably put this lower, but Terra has done a lot for Serperior. Like a huge amount. I think the most obvious standout one is clearly going to be the Terra Stellar Terra Blast. That's going to be a tongue twister, isn't it? Terra Stellar Terra Blast gets a +1 attack and special attack boost with Contrary. I know, everyone DMs me straight away. I got so many DMs telling me that, but it's alright, I know. Terra Blast is very, very good with Serperior. Specifically the Stellar Terra Blast, because of that stacking with the Leaf Storm. So you get your Leaf Storm boost, you get to get your Terra Blast boost of it with the Contrary as well. You get to snowball out of control very, very easily. So Terra Blast, also Stellar giving perfect coverage with Leaf Storm. Like, that's one of the downsides of Serperior previously, is it has Leaf Storm, then what's your coverage? It's got kind of terrible coverage. Leaf Storm is good enough because you start to get snowballing out of control pretty quickly, but Terra Blast giving now absolutely perfect coverage with Terra Stellar. That's great. Like, and it's being able to hit Terrestrialization Pokemon super effectively too. That's the cherry on top, basically. So, yeah, Serperior gained a lot from Terra. Also defensively, like, Stellar is not the only viable Terra type on Serperior. There's a lot of good defense ones as well. But, yeah, Stellar Terra Blast, that's going to be fantastic. This is a spread that I've used loads across my time using Serperior. I know that back in, was it Sun and Moon? Like, as in the formats Sun and Moon, VGC 19, it was 84 special attack, and it was like this. Something like that, and that did something to do with that format, but otherwise, this OHKO's a Landorus Therium when you're at +2 with Leaf Storm. So then the rest is just dumped into HP. Go max speed, like you don't want to not go max speed because you're outspeeding the Ogerpons with this, and then you might as well outspeed the Tornadus while you're there, and then you might as well speed creep the people that are content just outspeeding Tornadus. So then, yeah, you get to speed creep them as well, and also you get to glare them. Glare is much better than Thunderwave because you get to paralyze ground types as well, and also 100% accuracy. Wouldn't really matter with the wide lens, but Glare, it's a better paralysis move. It's the best paralysis move because it always works on ground types as well. So speed control on top of the chance not to move, absolutely fantastic on Serperior. So this is likely. Question mark. We'll have to see. I'm going to be using Serperior so much across the format. I'll be able to say definitively at the end when I win the World Championship with it. But yeah, this is probably going to be the best starting Serperior. And Wide Lens is absolutely mandatory in my opinion. There's other items that probably are objectively better. However, using Serperior so much across the years, Wide Lens is absolutely the correct item on Serperior. If you've been a supporter of the channel for a while and you've seen my previous reports, like back in 2019 with Serperior, I've explained why again, I'll explain why here. Because Leaf Storm is your setup move. You don't want to just whiff a nasty plot. Like, that just doesn't work. You need to be able to sweep with the Serperior, therefore you need to hit your attacks to enable that sweep to go. So, not only does missing stop the damage that would have happened that turn, it stops your boost happening that turn, and that also affects your future damage. So that miss also affects future Leaf Storms on top of that. You can't afford to miss your Leaf Storm because it is your setup. 99% accuracy, that's acceptable. It's not quite 100%, but across my time using Wide Lens Serperior, like back in 2018 up until now, I know there's been a pretty big gap, I've missed 3 Leaf Storms ever. Like, across the hundreds of Leaf Storms that I've clipped, I missed 3 important ones ever. So, yeah, Wide Lens. It's absolutely the correct item on Serperior. I used it back when it had Swagger, and back in the regional win that I won. Shout out to my 2018 team report if you want to go and check that out as well. I had Swagger, and that's the reason why I put Wide Lens on Serperior initially, because of Swagger having 85% accuracy, and it was paired with a Foul Play Persian. So that affected the Leaf Storm as well, and then I just realized, yeah, Wide Lens is absolutely correct. You can't afford to miss your setup and snowball sweep, because it affects your future Leaf Storms as well as just the one you've just missed. So it's super impactful across multiple turns. Wide Lens is absolutely correct. But otherwise, not actually sure entirely what is going to be the absolute correct Serperior, like I mentioned. Leaf Storm, mandatory. Protect, if you're not the screens one, mandatory. But otherwise, you mix up the other 2 moves. Glare is good. You don't need Glare, but I strongly recommend it. Otherwise, this is actually pretty reasonable coverage. Because Dragon Pulse, originally on Serperior, if you just had Dragon Pulse as coverage, like, what's even the point? Because it's not actually that strong. But now you can go for both defensively Terra Dragon in the face of fire types, and also now, offensively, to get your coverage of Dragon Pulse. That's a lot more viable. Because Dragon and Grass have actually pretty close to perfect coverage. I think it's just Steel that resists both. So that's not bad in the slightest. So very reasonable to not go for Terra Blast and just have Dragon Pulse as your coverage as well. It's very easy to have Terra Blast as well instead of Glare, and just have Terra Stella. I'm going to stumble over that so much. But yeah, Dragon Pulse, perfectly reasonable coverage as well. You can also have just whatever other Terra Blast you want. I would recommend Water or Rock as coverage if you want it offensively, like not just Stellar hitting everything kind of thing, and also a defensive Terra type. Water and Rock are probably the best ones. I think I'd put, yeah, Water and Rock are as options on those ones as well. But yeah, here's another option for Serperior. My very first Serperior that I got my third place at my first ever regional with was a Screen Serperior. And there's no reason why it couldn't be very usable here as well in this format. You've seen Grimmsnarls run Spirit Break as their offensive move, and then Screens and Paralysis, Thunderwave. This is exactly the same thing. Granted, it's not at priority, but Glare is better than Thunderwave, so when you get the Glare off, it's better than Thunderwave because it will hit, for sure, and also it can paralyze ground-type Pokemon, like a Choice Scarf Land or Asterion, just saying. And also, Leaf Storm is way better than Spirit Break offensively. Like, Spirit Break is good support because special attack drop, but doubling your special attack, that's probably a bit better so that Serperior itself can actually put on the offense, use its own screens to help it set up and sweep with its own Leaf Storm. So this would be very reasonable on Serperior as well. I've used screens before. Screens should be viable in this format, even though we haven't seen it as much. Like, Grimmsnarl is kind of niche at the moment. But screens would be very viable on the Serperior as well, because this is basically the same thing as Grimmsnarl. Plus, like, I know not Prankster, but everything else is better. So long as you get, like, your screen off, you're fine. And you're faster than a reasonable, like, probably, like, 80-90% of the Pokemon that are in the format at the moment. You got, like, Fluttermane and Chien-Pao and all that. They would threaten you. And the Choice Scarf Pokemon. But then 113, you're outspeeding most Pokemon anyway, so you'll get the screens off most likely. And also you've got some reasonable blocks, so you'll be able to most likely survive one hit. Not a Chien-Pao or anything, but you know, it's going to be able to get the screens off pretty comfortably. So this would be very viable as well. Assault Vest is also probably the way I would go if I was going with a Pledge Serperior with whatever water Pokemon has the Pledge move. It's probably Primarina or Empoleon. Those would be the best two to go for the Pledges, because then they're actually doing some damage as well. Because you want Grass Pledge on your Serperior, if you are going with that strategy, you probably want Assault Vest so that you have extra space for other things as well. So like I said, Terra Blast, Rock, could be Stellar, could be Water, those are fine as well. And also Breaking Swipe is a good move. Like, Breaking Swipe could have been in any of these slots as well. Not Leaf Storm Protect, obviously, but Breaking Swipe is a very good move supportively. In place of Reflect, Breaking Swipe would be absolutely fine because it'll break Focus Sashes and all that stuff as well, while also getting the attack drop. So Breaking Swipe fits perfectly onto the Assault Vest one. The only downside of the Assault Vest, and I should say about the Light Clay, the shaky accuracy of a Leaf Storm, because you've sacrificed the Wide Lens. But probably worth it. You'll be very bulky with this Assault Vest set. I brought Assault Vest Serperior to the 2018 North American Internationals, and it was pretty reasonable there. So I see no reason why it wouldn't be reasonable here as well. You do sacrifice the Wide Lens. But also, here are some other moves that are viable on Serperior, mainly these sets here instead of Terra Blast and Glare, potentially. This is not a recommended moveset, these are just moves that can fit onto these slots. So, Sunny Day to help out your Photosynthesis Mons, and also any, like, Fire-type attacking Pokemon that would be able to do extra damage, because Serperior can absolutely support. That's one of the things I like. I think why Serperior fits me so perfectly, because it's a great support Pokemon while also being a setup Pokemon and can sweep. And, like, that's my main thing that I want out of a Pokemon, to be able to support Pokemon still be able to do damage. So yeah, Sunny Day can help enable that. Grassy Terrain specifically is to help against any kind of Psy spam, because that might pick up now that Expanding Force is back in the format, and also we have a couple of new users of Expanding Force that are very viable, so Grassy Terrain helping to put a stop to that would be pretty reasonable as well. Dragon Tail would probably be on the Assault Vest set somewhere. If you want to go Assault Vest and you don't have Pledge, put it over Grass Pledge, because then you can get rid of all the setup Pokemon, and also get rid of Trick Room before it's activated, because Dragon Tail has one more priority than Trick Room, so it will activate first. Giga Drain will get extra recovery, and also if you don't have wide lens, if you're again going with the Assault Vest, Giga Drain would be a good alternative to definitely hit your move and also get recovery, so that you can increase your staying power as well. So that, again, Giga Drain is probably only on the Assault Vest set, but still perfectly viable because you wouldn't have the wide lens. I'll also say as well, like these are two items that would be reasonable if you're brave enough to go without the wide lens. Like objectively, Citrus Berry is probably better, and objectively, Miracle Seed is probably better. However, like I said, I don't think you can afford to miss your Leaf Storms, but if you're brave enough, go with these as well. And also, I've said about Dragon Pulse already, as the extra coverage. Helping Hand is always a good move. Finding it somewhere on your team. If Serperior hasn't Leaf Stormed yet, then it's not going to be doing like much damage on the first turn. That's the only downside of going with the Serperior sweep. The first Leaf Storm is pretty weak, but the second and further on are actually super strong. So Helping Hand on the first turn when you haven't set up, that would be very viable. Substitute to be able to block any of the fake outs that could be happening. Doesn't really matter about Intimidates and all that, and you don't need to really care about subbing on an Amoonguss because you're a grass type already. But sub to avoid fake outs that could have put a stop to your sweep. That'd be very good as well. Taunt is obviously a good move of shutting down opposing support Pokemon. We all know what Taunt does. I had it on my Serperior that was back in the VGC 19 format because that was mainly to stop Geomancy Xerneas, but it's still very viable in this format too. And I've probably gone a bit too long on Serperior. Obviously, this is my favorite Pokemon. I was going to be a bit biased in this because it's my favorite, but I still think it's very reasonable. I know it's going to still be just me. There may be one or two people that pick up on Serperior a little bit, but yeah, seriously, when Serperior is in my hands, it is absolutely an S+ Pokemon.